The underground fighting arena on Station Kelos smelled like sweat, copper, and bad decisions. Neon lights flickered across walls covered in alien script advertising everything from banned stimulants to discount cybernetics. The crowd packed the viewing tiers like sardines, 4 different species crammed together, all screaming for blood. Maya Chen leaned against the rusted railing, her arms crossed, watching the current match with the kind of bored expression that came from seeing too many fights. Her companion, a Vraxian merchant named Tolsk, kept glancing at her nervously. "You know," Tolsk said, his mandibles clicking with anxiety, "perhaps we should reconsider this arrangement. Vecker is not like the others you have faced." Maya turned her head slightly, one eyebrow raised. "That's so? He has never been struck, not once, in 347 matches. Tolsk's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of genuine concern among his people. "The betting syndicates have stopped taking wagers against him. It is considered financial suicide." 347 fights, Maya repeated slowly, letting each word hang in the stale air. "And nobody has landed a single punch?" "Not a single blow. He moves like water, like shadow. The commentators call him the untouchable." Maya laughed, the sound sharp and bright in the din of the arena. "Well, Tolsk, that is about to make tonight very interesting, is it not?" Down in the fighting pit, the current match ended with a sickening crunch. The victor, a massive Korthax with scales like obsidian, raised all 4 arms in triumph. Medical drones swooped in to collect what remained of his opponent. The crowd roared. Credits changed hands. The bookmakers updated their displays. Then the lights dimmed. A single spotlight stabbed down into the center of the pit, and the arena fell into an expectant hush. Even the most drunk and disorderly spectators went quiet. This was the moment they had paid to see. "Ladies, gentlemen, and honored beings of all classifications," the announcer's voice boomed through the speakers, translated simultaneously into 24 languages. "Tonight, you will witness perfection. Tonight, you will see why legends are made. Tonight, the untouchable graces us with his presence." The far entrance irised open, and Vecker entered. He was Zentari, a species known for their neural processing speed and reflexes that bordered on prescient. Tall and slim, with silver skin that seemed to shimmer in the light, he moved with the liquid grace of a dancer. His eyes were solid black, reflecting nothing, revealing nothing. He wore minimal armor, just enough to satisfy arena regulations, because he had never needed more. The crowd went absolutely insane. Vecker walked to the center of the pit, stopped, and stood perfectly still. He did not acknowledge the screaming fans. He did not bow or gesture. He simply existed, a statue of controlled violence waiting to be unleashed. "And now," the announcer continued, "his opponent for this evening, a newcomer to our arena, a human from the Sol system, weight class, light, experience, unverified, species classification, Death Worlder. Please welcome Maya Chen." The cheering turned to laughter. Maya pushed off from the railing and headed for the stairs leading down to the pit. Tolsk grabbed her arm with his primary manipulator. "Maya, please, there is no shame in forfeiting. I can refund your entry fee." "Well, most of it. The administrative costs are non-negotiable, but—" She gently removed his grip. "Tolsk, my friend, I appreciate the concern. I really do. But I need you to trust me on this one." "But he has never been hit. Never." "I heard you the first time," Maya said, her smile widening, "which means he has never learned how to take a punch, has he?" She descended the stairs before Tolsk could respond. The pit floor was rough concrete, stained with fluids from a dozen different biologies. Maya stepped through the entrance gate, and it sealed behind her with a hydraulic hiss. The crowd's laughter grew louder. She could hear scattered betting updates, odds so ridiculously stacked against her that they bordered on insulting. Good. Let them think what they wanted. She walked forward, rolling her shoulders, loosening up. Her outfit was simple, practical. Reinforced bodysuit, light armor plates, nothing fancy. Her hands were wrapped, knuckles protected. She had tied her dark hair back in a tight braid. Vecker watched her approach with those unreadable black eyes. If he was amused or concerned, or feeling anything at all, his face did not show it. "You are aware," he said, his voice surprisingly soft, That I have never been touched in combat. Yeah, Maya replied, stopping about 10 feet away. I keep hearing that. Must get boring after a while, right? Always winning, never challenged. Winning is never boring. Sure it is. When it comes too easy, when there is no risk, no real threat, that is when things get dull. She cracked her knuckles, the sound sharp in the momentary quiet. So how about we make tonight memorable for you? Vecker tilted his head slightly, the first real movement he had made beyond walking. You believe you will strike me? Oh, honey, Maya said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. I am going to do a lot more than that. The bell rang. Vecker moved first, as everyone expected. He was fast, faster than anything Maya had seen outside of combat footage. He closed the distance in a blur, his fist aimed at her midsection with surgical precision. But Maya was not there anymore. She had already shifted her weight, rotated her hips, and his fist sliced through empty air where her stomach had been a fraction of a second before. Her counter was immediate, instinctive. Her left hand snapped out, caught his extended arm at the elbow, and her right fist drove into his ribs with a sound like a hammer hitting meat. 1. Vecker's eyes went wide. Not from pain, there had not been. Enough time for pain to register, but from sheer shock. Someone had touched him. Someone had hit him. Maya did not give him time to process. She pivoted, used his own momentum against him, and drove her knee into his thigh. His leg buckled slightly, just enough. Her elbow came up, caught him under the chin, snapping his head back. 2, 3. The crowd had gone silent. The laughter died in their throats. Vecker stumbled backward, trying to create distance, trying to reset, but Maya was inside his guard now, and she pressed the advantage with ruthless efficiency. She had studied Deathworlder combat techniques from 6 different human martial traditions: boxing, Muay Thai, Krav Maga, Jiu-Jitsu, and more. She had trained in Earth's crushing gravity, where every movement built strength that translated to explosive power in lower G environments. Her fist crashed into his solar plexus, folding him forward. 4. And then, almost casually, she uppercut him. 5. Vecker went down, not knocked out, but down on one knee, his hand pressed to his face, black blood seeping between his fingers. The untouchable had been touched, had been hit. 5 times. Before he even understood that the fight had truly begun, the arena exploded into chaos. Half the crowd screamed in disbelief. The other half screamed in fury, realizing they had just lost enormous amounts of money. Bookmakers frantically checked their systems, certain there had been a glitch. This could not be happening. This did not happen. But it had. Maya stepped back, giving Vecker space, her hands still raised, ready. She was breathing hard but steady, her eyes locked on her opponent. Vecker slowly rose to his feet. He touched his lip, looked at the blood on his fingers as if seeing alien technology for the first time. Then he looked at Maya, and for the first time, there was something in those black eyes. Recognition, respect, and fury. You are faster than I expected, he said quietly. And you are exactly as predictable as I thought you would be, Maya shot back. 347 wins because nobody ever figured out the secret. You rely on pure speed, on reflex, on the assumption that you will always be faster than your opponent. But speed is not everything, Vecker. Sometimes it is about knowing where someone will be before they know it themselves. You studied me. Of course I studied you. I watched every single match recording I could find. You have patterns. Everyone does. You favor your right side. You always counter with the same 3 combinations. You telegraph your movements just a tiny bit, probably because you have never needed to hide your intentions. Why would you? Nobody has ever been fast enough to exploit it. She grinned, and it was not a nice expression. Until tonight. Vecker wiped the blood from his lip and dropped into a proper fighting stance for the first time. No more casual confidence, no more assumptions of easy victory. Then let us truly begin, he said, and the real fight started. Vecker came at her like a storm. No more testing, no more arrogance. Pure, focused aggression backed by centuries of Zentari combat evolution. His hands moved so fast they blurred, strikes coming from angles that should not have been possible, his body twisting and flowing like liquid mercury. But Maya had expected this. She had known that landing those first 5 hits would wake him up, would force him to actually try. And trying meant falling into patterns, even new ones. Her brain, that wonderful Death Worlder brain, evolved on a planet that tried to kill humanity for millions of years, processed information with a speed born of necessity. She blocked, parried, deflected. Her forearms would bruise later, she knew that. Several of his strikes got through, glancing blows that still hit like freight trains. But she gave ground strategically, never letting him fully corner her, always maintaining angles of escape. "You are good," Vecker said between combinations, not even breathing hard. "Better than good. But you cannot maintain this pace. Human endurance has limits." Maya laughed, actually laughed, even as she ducked under a spinning kick that would have decapitated her. "Oh, sweetheart, you really did not do your research, did you?" She exploded forward, closing distance when he expected her to retreat. Her shoulder drove into his chest, and she followed with a brutal combination to his kidneys, or whatever Zentari had in that location. The important thing was it hurt. Vekov grunted, the first real sound of pain she had heard from him, and tried to grab her in a clinch. Bad mistake. Maya was smaller, more compact, and she dropped her center of gravity, hooked his leg, and sent them both to the ground. Grappling, the great equalizer. On the ground, speed mattered less. Leverage mattered. Position mattered. Understanding anatomy and joint manipulation mattered, and Maya had spent years learning how to make people tap out or pass out. She locked in an armbar before Vecker fully understood what was happening. His superior reflexes meant nothing when the laws of physics and biology were against him. She hyperextended his elbow, felt him resist, felt the joint strain. "Tap," she said calmly. "Tap or it breaks." Vecker's pride warred with his survival instinct for exactly 2 seconds. Then, his free hand slapped the ground 3 times. The bell rang. The round ended. Maya released immediately and rolled away, coming to her feet in a smooth motion. Medical drones descended, scanning both fighters. Vecker lay on his back for a moment, staring at the ceiling, his face unreadable. The crowd had transcended noise. They were in some state beyond mere shouting, a collective roar of disbelief that shook the entire station. The bookmakers had stopped taking bets entirely. The commentators were screaming over each other, trying to describe what everyone had just witnessed. Maya walked to her corner, where Tulsk waited with water. And a medical kit, his eyes wide with shock. You actually," he stammered. "How did you, you are, breathing," Maya finished, taking the water and drinking deeply. "Yeah. Feels good. But nobody has ever survived the first round with him, let alone won it." "First time for everything, Tulsk." She dumped the rest of the water over her head, letting it cool her flushed skin. Her arms ached. Her ribs throbbed where some of his strikes had connected. But she was smiling. Actually, genuinely smiling. Across the pit, Vecker sat in his corner, surrounded by his team. They were arguing with him, gesturing frantically. She could not hear the words, but she could guess. They were telling him to be more aggressive, to use his full speed, to stop holding back. The second round bell rang. They met in the center again, but this time, everything was different. Vecker was not the same fighter who had walked into the arena. The mask of perfect confidence had cracked. In its place was something more dangerous. Desperation. He attacked with combinations she had not seen in any of his previous matches. New techniques, reserve strategies he had never needed before. The untouchable was pulling out everything he had, throwing caution aside, because for the first time in his career, he was actually losing. Maya absorbed the onslaught, her defense tested to its absolute limits. One strike got through, caught her temple, and stars exploded across her vision. Another hit her floating rib, and she tasted copper. But she did not go down, could not go down. Because humans were persistence predators. Because humans were deathworlders. Because somewhere in her genetic code was the memory of ancestors who hunted prey to exhaustion, who survived injuries that would kill other species, who looked at the hostile universe and said, "Not today." She weathered the storm, found her opening, and took it. Her fist drove into his throat, not hard enough to crush, but enough to choke. He gasped, reflexes forcing him to protect his airway, and that split second of distraction was all she needed. She swept his legs, followed him down, and this time when they hit the ground, she went for the choke. Her arms snaked around his neck, her legs wrapped around his torso, locking the position. The rear naked choke, one of the most effective submissions ever developed, cut off the blood flow to the brain, not the air. Cleaner, faster, more certain. Vecker thrashed, his superior strength trying to break her grip. But she had the angle, had the leverage. She squeezed, felt his struggles weaken. "You fought well," she whispered in his ear, "better than anyone gave you credit for. But tonight was my night, Vecker. Tonight, the untouchable learned what it feels like to lose." His hand slapped the ground once, twice, 3 times. The final bell rang. Maya released him and stood, her arm raised by the referee drone. The crowd had moved beyond shock into some kind of collective hysteria. Beings were fainting, others were screaming. The betting syndicates would be investigating this match for months, certain it had been fixed, unable to believe that a human had just defeated the greatest fighter in the underground circuit. Vecker lay on the ground, breathing hard, one hand still at his throat. Medical drones swarmed him, checking vitals, administering treatment. Slowly, painfully, he sat up. Their eyes met across the pit. And then, impossibly, Vecker smiled. It was small, barely visible, but it was genuine. He raised one hand in acknowledgement, a warrior's salute. Respect earned through combat, the oldest language in the universe. Maya returned the gesture, then turned and walked out of the pit. Tulsk met her at the entrance, practically bouncing with excitement. "You did it. You actually did it. Do you understand what this means? The endorsement deals, the sponsorships, every arena in this sector will want to book you. You will be famous." "Yeah," Maya said, wincing as adrenaline faded and pain rushed in to fill the void. "Famous sounds exhausting. Right now, I just want a hot shower, a cold drink, and about 12 hours of sleep." They pushed through the crowd, beings stepping aside, staring at her like she was some kind of mythical creature, the human who had done the impossible, who had hit the untouchable not once but repeatedly, who had submitted him twice in 2 rounds. Outside the arena, the station's artificial night cycle painted everything in shades of blue and purple. Ships came and went in the distance, their engines glowing like distant stars. "You know," Tulsk said as they walked, "when you first approached me about entering the tournament, I thought you were insane. Humans are tough, yes, but Vecker is, Maya corrected. He is still an incredible fighter. He just had 347 victories against opponents who did not understand him, who saw his speed and gave up before trying, who believed the legend more than they believed in themselves. And you did not?" "I believed in research, in preparation, in understanding that every fighter, no matter how good, has weaknesses. The trick is finding them." She paused at a viewing window, looking out at the stars. "Also helps that I'm from a planet where literally everything tries to kill you. Kind of gives you a different perspective on what scary really means." Tulsk's mandibles clicked and what she had learned was laughter. "I suppose when your homeworld has apex predators that hunt humans for sport, an alien fighter does not seem so intimidating." "Exactly." Maya turned from the window, her expression thoughtful. "You know what the funny thing is? Before tonight, people feared Vecker because nobody could touch him. After tonight, they will fear him because of what he does to his next opponent. Losing like this, in front of everyone, will either break him or forge him into something even more dangerous." "You think he will come back?" "I know he will. And when he does, he will be better, smarter, more adaptable." She smiled, and there was anticipation in it. "Which means if we ever fight again, it is going to be absolutely legendary." They reached her quarters, a small rented room in the station's residential sector. Tulsk transferred her winnings to her account, a sum that made her eyes widen slightly. 70-30 split is agreed," he said. "Your share is enough to buy a small ship if you wanted, or upgrade your equipment, or retire somewhere nice and never fight again." Maya looked at the number, then looked at Tulsk. "What do you think, partner? Ready to see what other untouchables are out there waiting to be touched?" Tulsk's 4 eyes blinked in sequence again, but this time with excitement instead of fear. "You are seriously considering making a career of this, traveling from station to station, challenging undefeated fighters?" "Why not? Sounds like fun. Sounds like adventure. Sounds like a good way to remind the galaxy that humans are not to be underestimated." She extended her bruised hand. "So what do you say? Want to be my manager?" Tulsk looked at her hand, then at her face, then back at her hand. Then he wrapped his primary manipulator around it and shook. "Partner," he said firmly. Inside her quarters, Maya finally allowed herself to collapse onto the bed, every muscle screaming in protest. She would hurt tomorrow, would probably hurt for a week. But tonight, lying there in the dark, listening to the station hum around her, she could not stop grinning. Somewhere in the arena, Vecker was probably thinking the same thing, planning, training, preparing for the next time their paths crossed. And when that day came, when the untouchable met the human who had touched him, the entire galaxy would stop to watch. But that was a fight for another day. Tonight, Maya Chen had proven something important, something that would echo through underground fighting circuits across a dozen systems. She had proven that legends could bleed, that perfection could be broken, and that sometimes, just sometimes, the human was the scariest thing in the room. They had said no one had ever hit him. She had landed 5 before he even realized the fight began. And that made all the difference.